Do you have? Oh, John, do you have access to?
Yep.
To Aliyot?
Oh, no, but you'll
Well,
tell
keep
me.
it. It doesn't matter. I wanted to read this piece now and see what happens. Okay, Ellie, go ahead and read because you know the what do you call it? The Aliyot. Maybe it'll come up. Go ahead.
Okay. ויהיו חיי שרה 100 שנה ו20 שנה ו7 שנים, שני חיי שרה.
Okay, just before we go on, does that number mean anything to anybody? 100 שנה ו20 שנה ו7 שנים?
It sounds like the amount of medinot that Achashverosh ruled over.
Achashverosh, yeah. Achashverosh, 7 ma'am 29. All right, what that has to do, I'm not sure. Maybe it does, but it's just too much of a coincidence that somehow Sarah and somehow Esther have something in common. You use your own imagination, but there's something here. Okay, let's go. This is fascinating. Go. I'm sorry, I'm a movie guy. I'm sorry, I'm just a little excited about it. So go.
ותמות שרה בקריית ארבע, היא חברון בארץ כנען, ויבוא אברהם לספוד לשרה ולבכותה.
Incidentally, there were over 10,000 people in Hebron this past Shabbat. Kiryat Arba and so on. Okay. Sean, you were in the Kiryat Arba, right? You know the area.
I was there. Also, Ellie was there. He was a soldier there.
Huh? What happened?
Ellie was also there. He was a soldier.
Oh, Ellie, you were there?
In Hebron, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not this past Shabbos.
Keep going.
ויקום אברהם מעל פני מתו, וידבר אל בני חת לאמור, גר ותושב אנוכי עמכם, תנו לי אחוזת קבר עמכם ואקברה מתים מלפניי.
Everybody knows what's going on, yes? Anybody not know what's going on?
We're with you.
It's very clear. Avraham Avinu lost his wife, and he has to find a place to bury her. Okay. Now the next thing is fascinating. Keep going.
ויענו בני חת את אברהם לאמור לו, שמענו אדוני, נשיא אלוהים אתה בתוכנו, במבחר קברנו קבור את מתך, איש ממנו את קברו לא יכלה ממך מקבור מתך.
Everything clear so far. They offer the best kever, and nobody will say no. Go ahead.
ויקום אברהם וישתחו לעם הארץ לבני חת.
Okay. I mean, it's at least on surface it looks very clear cut. Go.
וידבר איתם לאמור, אם יש את נפשכם לקבור את מתים לפניי, שמעוני ופיגעו לי בעפרון בן צוחר. וייתן לי את מערת המכפלה.
I know a place. Why is it called מערת המכפלה? Anybody know that? מה זה כפל?
Because two couples were buried there.
I'm sorry?
I mean, like 4 couples were buried there, right?
Okay, so we can say couples, there's Adam and Chava, there's Ikego, but could just be plainly, because he speaks to Ephron, doesn't know about that, there were actually a Ma'ara that had 2 levels. And I think there is something like that in Ma'at HaMachpelah today, 2 levels. Anyway, so he's asking him what? He says, "Tell him Ma'at HaMachpelah, bekesef maleh nitneh you don't." Okay, go ahead. It's very interesting. Keep going.
וייתן לי את מערת המכפלה אשר לו, אשר בכסף בכסף מלא יתננה לי בתוככם לאחוזת כבל. ועפרון יושב בתוך בני חת, ויען עפרון החיתי את אברהם באוזני בני חת, וכל באי שער עירו לאמור. לא אדוני שמעני, השדה נתתי לך, והמערה אשר בו לך נתתיה. לעיני בני עמי נתתיה לך, קבור מתך.
I can't see the rest of it. Can you bring it up? Oh, good.
וידבר אל עפרון באוזני עם הארץ לאמור, אך אם אתה לא שמעני, נתתי כסף אז תקח ממני ואקברה תיתי.
Sean, is it too fast for you? Okay.
No, it's good.
I'm too slow. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm very excited. Go ahead. Yeah. Go.
ויען עפרון את אברהם לאמור לו, אדוני שמעני ארץ 400 שקל כסף ביני ובינך מה היא ואת מתך קבור. וישמע אברהם אל עפרון, וישקול אברהם לעפרון את הכסף אשר דיבר באוזני בני חת, 400 שקל כסף עובר לסוחר.
What is that? Shani here? Keep going.
Yep. That's
Wait,
the end of the
did you make a
arena.
mistake, Ellie?
Chas
I
v'shalom.
don't
Ellie,
think so.
Shani is here. Keep going.
ויקום שדה עפרון אשר במכפלה אשר לפני ממרא, השדה והמערה אשר בו וכל העץ אשר בשדה אשר בכל גבולו סביב. לאברהם למקרא לעיני בני חת בכל באי שערירו. ואחרי כן קבר אברהם את שרה אשתו מערת שדה המכפלה על פני ממרא היא חברון בארץ כנען. ויקום השדה והמערה אשר בו לאברהם לאחוזת קרקע.
So, is there a problem here? I think there are two problems. So, Shani was where, Ellie? Bring it back up again. Right there. Why would you put the Shani? Shani should be at the end of the story. Keep going a little bit louder, Shani. Yeah, right there. Vayakam Asadeh. What are you doing? Why are you splitting this story into two things? Keep going to the next pasuk right after that.
ואברהם זקן, Ellie, we can't hear you.
Doesn't much matter. Somebody doesn't.
ואברהם זקן בא בימים, והשם ברך את אברהם בכל.
Keep going. The next two psukim.
ויאמר אברהם אל עבדו, זקן ביתו המושל בכל אשר לו, שים נא ידך תחת ירכי.
Keep going.
והשביעך בהשם אלוקי השמיים ואלוקי הארץ, אשר לא תיקח אישה לבני מבנות הכנעני אשר אנוכי יושב בקרבו.
And one more pasuk.
כי אל ארצי ואל מולדתי תלך ולקחת אישה לבני ליצחק.
Okay, now what I'll tell you today, it's my own idea. Just saw it yesterday when I was. It struck me that the story is that the Shani is called up in the middle of the story. Anybody have any thoughts on why that might be? I would like to suggest, see what you think about it. There is never a moment in history when there is no Em L'Yisrael. The story does not end there. The story is continuation. As long as the moment that Sarah is not here, go get myself Rivka. And I think the idea why it's Shani there is because it tells you the story. No, just because you buried her is not the end of the story. It's in fact the beginning of the next story. And I think the reason is that Shani in there is Bedavka, a story of what? Of continuation. There should not be an instant when there's not an Em B'Yisrael, Sarah is away, go find the next person. And it can't be that there's two separate stories. It's one story. What do you think about that?
Interesting.
I think it's true. I think it's almost blatant why they put Shani in the middle, because they didn't want to make the end of the story Shani at the end of the story, because it's really not the end of the story. It's just the beginning of the next story, which is one big story. That's one thing. Okay. Next thing I want to ask you, see what you think. Why all this stuff? Ephron said, Yeravam said, Bnei Chet said, ותמת שרה, והיא בן 27 שנים, ויקבור אותה במערת המכפלה שקיבל מעפרון. I mean, this, he said, she said, who said, what is that all about? Is there something in here that is a very, very deep, deep conversation between Avraham Avinu and the rest of these people? Let's go back to the very beginning and let's see what he says. Ger v'toshav. Okay, keep going a little down. Yeah, right there. Below, back before that. Yeah. So Avraham Avinu now goes to whom? He goes to Bnei Chet, and he says, Ger v'toshav. What does that mean?
I live among you.
Who said that?
Shani.
Oh, shit. Is there a problem in his description? If I'm a ger, Am I toshav? Am I toshav? Am I a ger? What's a ger? A ger is an outside person, right? He's a ger. Toshav, it means he's a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
He's giving them a message. In many ways, I'm a ger. I'm an outsider. But somehow or other, I'm a toshav. Maybe not now, maybe some later, but I'm a toshav also. Because Hashem promised me this entire land. Ger betoshav. What is he asking him? Tanuli?
אחוזת קבר.
Tanuli what?
אחוזת
Achuzat
קבר.
kever. Anybody want to translate that? מה זה אחוזה?
Like a portion, like your portion.
Yes, and exactly, אחוזה is, I want a piece of that. אחוזת kever. ואת ברמי מלפניי. What do they answer? Who wants to read? שמעני, אדוני.
נשיא אלוקים אתה בתוכנו, במבחר קברנו קבור את מתיך, איש ממנו את קברו לא יכלה ממך מקבור מתיך.
Wow. Go back to what he offers again. Let's see what Avraham Avinu offers. The two psukim before. Tnuli achuzat kever. What do they answer?
Take whatever you want.
But an achuzat kever you're not getting. There is a discussion here. You want to bury? Nobody will stop you from burying. But the word achuzat kever you cannot have. It's beautiful to see this. And unless you really look very carefully, there's a major discussion here. Avraham Avinu wants to take a piece of Eretz Israel and make it Yachuzah. And they say, no. But one thing, what? I don't use the word Achuzat Kever. Let's keep going. Vayakam Avraham. That's fascinating, no? You can go over this story and not realize what's going on here. But what does Abraham say?
וישתחו לעם הארץ ולבני חת.
Watch this. What's going on?
Sorry. Okay. וידבר איתם לאמור, אם יש את נפשכם לקבור את מתי מלפני שמעוני ופיגעו לי בעפרון בן סוחר.
Keep going, וייתן לי.
את מערת המכפלה אשר לא, אשר בקצה שדהו בכסף מלא יתננה לי בתוככם לאחוזת קבר.
What's going on here? What did they offer to begin with? Free. Any place you want. What does he offer? What does Avraham Avinu say? No. Bekesef maleh. I want to capture this piece of land with the kesef. For what purpose? La'achuzat kever. So the most amazing thing, there's a discussion here. They say take it for free. If you take something for free, it's not really yours. He gave you it as a gift. I want to pay for it, and I want to make this the beginning of Achuzat Eretz Israel by bearing Sarah in Achuzat Kever. Keep going.
ועפרון יושב בתוך בני חת, ויען עפרון החיתי אל אברהם באוזני בני חת לכל באי שער עירו לאמור. לא אדוני. שמעני, השדה נתתי לך, והמערה אשר בו לך נתתיה, לעיני בני חת נתתיה לך קבור מתיך.
What's the two words that I'm missing?
אחוזת קבר.
אחוזת קבר. I don't want your money. I don't want anything from you. אחוזת קבר you're not getting. Because a ger v'toshav, you can be a ger. But if you say you're toshev kan, there's a major discussion here. So the whole story that you see, I asked you before, who cares? This said, he said, this is the beginning of the acquisition. Ever know what the acquisition means? Tali there?
When you take over, like when you capture?
I need a lawyer here. What's acquisition?
Like to get, to acquire?
Achuzah is different. And I acquire a piece of land, I acquire whatever it is, that is an acquisition. So it's amazing to see what's going on here. Now watch this. That's an interesting situation. What's going on here? He says yes, he says no. He says yes, he says no. Whenever you have such a discussion, what would you like to, how do people resolve that? For example, in the peace process, the David Accord, the one thing they couldn't argue, they couldn't get through is Yerushalayim. So you know what you do? Let's talk about the peace process and not talk about Yerushalayim.
Mm-hmm.
That is a mechanism of diplomats when they do this. So Avraham Avinu is going to do very interesting. So everyone says you can take it, but he doesn't use it with achuzat kever. Look what Abraham does here. Magnificent. Yeah.
וידבר על עפרון באוזני עם הארץ לאמור, אך אם אתה לו שמעני, נתתי כסף השדה, קח ממני ואקברה את מתי שמה.
You know what? I don't use the word achuzat kever, but I want to pay for it. Now, if you pay for it, what does it make it?
Yours. It belongs to you.
Yours. Yours. But he said, okay, don't use those words. Don't use those words. Watch this. So now Ephron, okay, money is money. So what does he say? It's amazing. Adoni.
ויען עפרון לאברהם, לאמור לו, אדוני שמעני, ארץ 400 שקל כסף ביני ובינך, מה היא ואת מתך קבור?
Yeah, you know, $400. It's not even $400. Kesef for Bela Shokel. That's a lot of. Do you know a piece of silver? I mean, imagine. Is there silver in El Yisrael? No silver mines. It must have brought that through Shva, wherever it is. 400 pieces. Nah, take it. It's only 400. I can. Okay. What does Abraham do? What does it do?
What pasuk is it?
It's pasuk Tezayin. I'm holding my ear.
Leishma
Abraham. No. You're telling me it's only $400. 400. I know exactly what you want. You want 400. You know, it's an amazing system here. These are two people that argue with each other and work with each other, and 400 piece of shekel. What? What do you do?
Vayishkol
Abraham le'efron takesef.
V'kasel asher diber ba'aznei b'nei chlit 400 shekel kasef over lasocher.
Incidentally, you know, in modern Israel today, there's a shekel. What does a shekel mean in the modern Israel? Mazel ishkol.
To weigh.
To weigh. In the old times, a shekel was something you weighed. So he weighed 400 pieces of silver. I mean, I can't even imagine how you schlep something like this. And not only that, but over lasocher. Anybody know what over lasocher means? If you go to the store and you give a piece of silver and you say it weighs so much and so much, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's a little bit less, maybe a little more. But if there is a stamp of the government that says that this is a true kesef, over lasocher, I don't have to weigh it each time. You weighed it, and I accept it right away because over lasocher, this was a silver piece that was already what's the word? I'm looking for a word. Accepted by the government, or they told them that that's the real. So this is the best you can possibly have. You get 400 pieces of shekel, 200 pieces of kesef, over lasocher. Now watch this. Keep going.
I can read. What pasuk are we up to?
Whoever, okay. Vayakam.
Vayakam, okay. Sdei Ephron, asher b'machpelah, asher lifnei mamre hasadeh, והמראה אשר בו בכל העץ אשר בשדה אשר בכל גבולו סביב.
Wow, what's going on here? He just wanted to get officially the Me'ara. But he had another thing. He wanted to get part of Eretz Yisrael. He wanted to make the first acquisition. Now, if I give you 400 shekel, I get Sadeh, Me'ara, Etz, B'chol Gvulo Saliv. So this is not just a place to bury. This is the beginning of the acquisition of Avraham Avinu of Eretz Yisrael for the Jewish people. Keep going. LaAvraham lemikneh
לעיני בני חת.
Everybody was there. Everybody had the witnesses. He took money for it. Now it's mine, and I don't use the word achuzat kever just yet. Keep going. אחרי כן.
ואחרי כן קבר אברהם את שרה אשתו על מערת שדה המכפלה על פני ממרא וחברון בארץ כנען.
Yeah, he did what he wanted to do, but watch the next piece. This will blow your mind. Who wants to read this one to blow your mind?
I'll read it. ויקם השדה והמערה אשר בו לאברהם לאחוזת קבר מאת בני חת.
What's the two words?
לאחוזת קבר.
Amazing. So you can learn, you can read this story over and over and over again. You get this sense. This is it's not just a matter of where you buried the wife. It's a matter of beginning of achuzat kever. The moment that I have achuzah, at beginning, ger. So this whole story, why they tell you this whole story, is not just to tell you he said this, he said that, he said that. No, there was a discussion between Avraham Avinu and the Bnei Chet. Bnei Chet ultimately, though, when it comes to 400 kesef, yeah. As long as you don't use what achuzat kever. But the end of it is l'achuzat kever. And the moment that Avraham Avinu had achuzat kever, he was the first one to make the acquisition of Eretz Yisrael. Not only that, there are 3 places in all Tanakh where Jews bought land with kesef. Do you know which they are?
In the Tanakh?
Any place else? Yaakov, when Yaakov goes to Shechem, he gives a mea ksita. Yaakov buys Shechem with 100 ksita. Where else is there? Yerushalayim. David HaMelech pays the Yevusi with money. There are only 3 places in all of Eretz Yisrael where there's no question that the Jews purchased it. Where are the greatest problems we have today in Eretz Yisrael?
In those 3 places.
Hebron, Shechem, and Yerushalayim. The most amazing story. The story of Bereshit is not just, when we talked about last week, it's not just God created trees, God created things. The story of Sefer Bereshit it's the most amazing thing. I mean, everybody talks about this. The Tanakh clearly says that we purchased those 3 places. And that's exactly what the biggest problem. Every night they come to Shechem. Shechem is right near the Jenin incident. It's all connected to one piece. Shechem, and of course Hebron, you know what's going on there. I mean, 10,000 Jews came, but they had to have the IDF all over the place. It's not easy. And Yerushalayim, you know what's going on there. I mean, there's always a problem. So we have the story that we read yesterday, a whole bunch of stuff. First, Shani is in the middle of a story to tell you we cannot survive without an M, Israel. The moment Sarah is out of the picture, Abraham has to get another one, which eventually turns out to be Rivka. And we also see the acquisition of a piece of land, which is back and forth, and ultimately, because of Achuzat Kever, which is the beginning of the acquisition of Hebron, eventually Yaakov acquires Shechem, and David HaMelech acquires Yerushalayim. Yafeh. Anybody want to say anything else?
Very interesting, Saba. Thank you.
I think it's fascinating. You know what it is? What's so fascinating about it? I've read this story. You know, I'm 86 years old. I've read the same person over and over and over again. I know how old I first was then. And yesterday, I take a look and say, wait a second. Who cares? He said, she said. What's that about? And the other thing, what they put Shane in the middle. So Baruch Hashem, you're one of the earliest ones to hear from my thought about this idea. I'm not sure I'm the first one to fix it. I'm sure other people thought about it too, but So very fascinating thing. This story that you have, yesterday's Parsha, is a depth story. It's not just a little story about I said, you said. There was a major discussion between Bnei Chet and Avraham Avinu, and ultimately Avraham Avinu acquires it, and it's called Achuzah.
Saba, can you hear me?
Anybody want to add anything to this?
Yeah, Ellie's trying to talk.
Okay, Ellie.
No, I just wanted to point out.
I can't hear you. Look a little louder.
I just wanted to point out.
I can't hear him. Can anybody hear him? Oh, hi,
Yeah.
Alana.
Oh, hold on.
No, it's gonna be fine.
Are you joining with Ilana's phone?
Yeah.
Hold on, Saba. They're just joining.
I can't hear. What's going on?
Right. Can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Yeah, now I hear you well. Yes.
I just wanted to point out that it's interesting that Dafka Chevron, if Avram bought it, and we have the whole machloket about it with the Arabs who are Bnei Ishmael, but they're also descendants of Avraham.
Yeah. So explain again what you're trying to say. Say a little louder so everyone can hear it.
No, what I'm saying is that the argument that we have with the Arabs, I mean, they
today? You talking about today?
have a legitimate claim.
Today, yeah.
Oh, today, I'm sorry. Say one more time, I can hear better.
I'm just saying that the claim that they could have a similar claim to us, meaning they're also the descendants of Avram.
Correct. Absolutely. Very good. And that's a fascinating thing you just said. And that's exactly what ultimately Sarah has to make a decision. And she says, Gareshet ben ha'ama hazot, which was a very difficult thing for her. Because in a sense, he's also her son, even though it's Hagar's son. And she had to make a decision that this person is not going to continue the tradition of Avraham. That's a very interesting thing. In fact, yesterday's Haftarah has the same thing. The Haftarah is exactly the same story. David HaMelech has to make a decision between Adoniyahu and Shlomo HaMelech. They're not easy decisions. I mean, they're all their children. And you have to make a decision, who is the real person to continue that tradition. And David HaMelech says, look, Adoniyahu is good looking, Adoniyahu is this, Adoniyahu is that, but Shlomo is the one to do this. And it's so fascinating what you just said, because if you really look through that, the Pesukim, you say, Yishpot Hashem beini uvenecha. Remember this?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? I have to go to God to make this mishpat. I know I'm right, but I want Hashem to say. And Hashem says, Shema b'kolah. So what you're saying is a very, very deep thing. And they can say, look, we also the children of Ishmael. And Sarah's great conversion to God, Yishpot Hashem b'ni uvenecha, and Avraham Avinu had to do what he had to do. So the question is always there behind, but somehow you have to look at the psukim clearly and carefully to see what we say.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Saba.
Thank you, Saba.
Thank you all.
Happy birthday.
I really wanted to share